Hello everyone, and welcome back to a new video modeling the University of Greenwich with Threedee. Today we will focus on the main building areas, which will be called window wall. Hopefully you will be familiarized with this process, as it is the same that we followed in the initial stages of this journey. As usual, we will begin with the input node, creating a compass sketch of 57 by 20. This will be followed by a rename node, where we will rename the south to F1 and the north to F2. These are profiles previously created and will allow us to add detail to our facade. An extrude node is then used, taking the profiles and extending them into the third dimension, laying the groundwork for our building. After, we will create a select node and add the labels that we used in our profiles. In this case, accent, black metal, bolt, and ceiling, which will allow us to modify each section individually. From the accent output, we will create a repeat cut by length of 5 units, followed by another cut node where we will create 2 cuts from west to east. Cut 0 will be parallel to base 0, and the distance between them will be 4 units. Cut 1 will be a cut repeat by length with a distance of 2.5. A maximum cut of 1, and will be adjusted to the secondary. Now the cut direction for this will be perpendicular to cut. All primary faces will be labeled as east and all secondary as wall 1. The section on the top will be labeled as north. We will create a select node with the labels east and north. We will add a previously created function to the east, which will be the frame of some of our windows. From the north output, we will create another cut. This will count with 3 cuts from west to east, where cut 0 will be parallel to base 2, and they will have an exact distance of 0.3 units. Cut 1 and base 0 will also be parallel and have an exact distance of 0.3 units. Now cut 2 will be a repeat cut by length with a distance of 2.5 units and a maximum cut of 1. It will be adjusted to the secondary and will have all primary faces labeled as west and all secondary as wall 1. The resulting section of the top and bottom will be labeled as wall 1. We will then select the west and add another previously made function. Then we will connect both functions to another one that will generate the glass for our windows. For most of our code now, we will be able to duplicate nodes or connect them to previously created ones. As you can see, not all the geometry that we expected is appearing when rendering. This is due to several minor mistakes. First of all, it is crucial to label the edges of the cuts that we create, as otherwise the system will not recognize what is going on. Once that was fixed, the small windows on the top appeared. Secondly, the glass was not being generated because the variables for the function were not declared. Once this was fixed and all the nodes connected again, everything worked as expected. This is definitely one of my favorite features of Threedee and their procedural software. Due to its non-destructive nature, you can allow yourself to make mistakes and easily correct them, without the urge of starting all over again. Although the initial stages might be a bit more tedious and time-consuming, it definitely pays off in the long run. After duplicating the first 3 nodes of the last section, we will create an extrude node by a mount of -0.3. We will connect the caps to our window function and rename the sides to wall 1. For the last section of the building, we will duplicate the first cut node once again, and instead of windows, we will just rename it as arches this time. We will then create another cut node with 2 cuts from west to east, where cut 0 will be parallel to base 2 and will have an exact length of 0.5 units. Cut 1 will be a cut repeat by length with a distance of 3 units and 1 as maximum cuts. It will be adjusted to the secondary. All primary faces will be labeled as west and all secondary faces as wall 1. Now please don't forget to label the edges. In this case, the section at the top will be labeled as Wall 1 as well. We will create another select node to select the west, and we will create another cut node. This will have only one cut from west to east, parallel to base 2, and a distance of 1.5 units. The top section will be labeled as north and the bottom as south, and this will help us to place the arches later on. We will create another select node with the label north, and we will toggle an else node. We will connect the north output to one of the tools provided by Threedee, which is the tool sector 180. It will have an angle of 15 units. The output will be connected to a rename where all faces will be labeled as wall 1. Next, we will merge the select node and the sector 180. We will then add another previously created function for the frame of our arched windows and change the variables accordingly. Feel free to pause the video if you would like to use the same measurements. Next, we will create another cut, similar to the last one that we created. However, in this case, the smaller edges created at the top will have an exact length of 0 units. We will create another cut node with 2 cuts from west to east. Cut 0 will be parallel to base 0, and they will have an exact distance of 3 units. Now cut 1 will once again be a cut repeat by length, with a distance of 1.5, and will repeat only one time. We will adjust it to the secondary and label all primary faces as east and all secondary as wall 1. Don't forget to label the edges as well, and in this case the top section will also be labeled as wall 1. We will select the east and connect it to the extrude node previously created. As you might have noticed, one of Threedee's greatest strengths is the fact that you are able to create one element once and reuse it for any of your projects. After connecting the elements to the right output label, the building is ready to be exported as a function. However, as we need to carry on working on top of this building in the main project for one section in particular, we will create an output node, which we will call top, and we will connect it to the first extrude. This way, we will be able to work on top of the geometry once the function is imported into the main building. We will also duplicate a few nodes, connect them to the input, and create a function within the project, which will be called Windows Top. We will go into the function, and we will export it as we will do normally. After importing the functions in the main project, we will replace the extrude of window wall for our function. We will add an offset tool and connect it to the grand entrance, where the south and north distance will be -3. We will then merge the edges and add our function. To create the detail of our facade, we will duplicate the profile F2 and call it top. Then we will delete a few vertices and drag it down to the starting point. We will also change the label of black metal for carpenter or any other label that is not being used. After, we will create a rename node and convert F1 and F2 to top. Finally, we will extrude by label, select the label carpenter, and add our function Windows Top. The project is nearly finished. However, we still have a few details to modify. The columns and great column entrance are too high, so we will lower all the elements 4 units. Compared to other traditional 3D softwares, Threedee makes it easier and faster to work with and change complicated 3D models. It's a really good option for projects that need to be able to change easily and quickly, such as this one. As you can see, the model is able to adapt easily. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and join us in the next video for the final touches. Thank you very much for watching.